Welcome back everyone. This might be a bit of a long one, so I hope you're sitting comfortably. Today I want to talk about the solutions rather than the problems. Every day we all watch X and videos on YouTube that basically highlight much of which we already know. We're all aware of the problems in the country. We're all aware that the UK is not the country that you and I probably grew up in. We're all aware of the problems that our children and our grandchildren will face in the future down the line if we don't get this right for them now. We all know that. Today I want to talk about how we get around that, how we resolve the issues. Now, it's not going to be pretty. And unusually, for my videos at least, there might even be the use of some bad language. Now, I apologise in advance for that. Unfortunately, I'm not blessed with the vocabulary that some people are lucky to have. I cannot always express my inner feelings, my inner thoughts and frustrations without sometimes dropping the odd F-bomb here and there. I've tried for a couple of years now, and yes, it works. My channel is family friendly. You can sit and watch your channel with my kids if you like, and that's all very well, but it's not really allowing me to unveil my true inner feelings, my true self, and the frustrations that we all share. So excuse me today if this is a bit of an X-rated video. Now, when we grew up, things were a lot different. We all know that. And it starts off at school, doesn't it? It starts off at your primary school or your first school, whatever that may have been, nursery, whatever. And something is missing today that was prevalent and very active during our time. And that was, or that is, respect. There is no respect now from our younger generation in general in schools, and we all know why. The schools have been heavily infected with the woke mind virus, the no blame culture. I remember even when my girls were at school and they're grown up with children of their own now, they had a policy of not blaming bullies. Not blaming bullies, the little bastards needed a clip round the ear hole. You know, we had kids running around schools beating other kids up, and they had a no blame policy. No blame, give the little fucker a kick round the ear hole. That's all these people understand. That's what we were taught at school. That's what I was. When I went to school, if I misbehaved, if I was out of line, I knew there were repercussions, and I would come home from school some days black and blue, and that was just from the teachers, let alone my contemporaries, who we'd also put each other in line if we stepped out of it. But that's all gone. Now, I'm not suggesting or advocating that our teachers are suddenly allowed to start hitting our kids. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is that there's a return to some form, at least, of proper respect in schools, and proper respect won't come unless there are proper punishments. And I go back to the bullying. How are you ever going to stop a kid from bullying another kid by having a no blame policy? All that's going to do is encourage him to do it more, because there are no repercussions. We all know the answer, or the only answer usually, to a bully is to give him a smack on the chops. And it's most likely they won't come back and do it again. We was taught to stand up to bullies, not to run away from them. But today the schools have a no blame policy. Wow. And that's where it starts. And it just gets worse. Our kids are now being indoctrinated in the schools by their hard left National Union of School Teacher members, who are all from the left, or mostly probably from the far left, who have odious beliefs. They may be good to your kids, or you think they're being good to your kids, but what they're actually doing is brainwashing them into believing what they want them to believe, not allowing the kids to think for themselves. We were never, ever taught about left or right politics at school when I was growing up, ever. None of our teachers tried to politically persuade us either way with their teachings. If we went and had a history lesson, the lesson was about history. If we went and had a maths lesson, it was about maths. If we had an English lesson, it was about English. Where is all this shit coming from? Where is this woke mind virus spreading? How is it being spread? How is it infecting people? Well, it's infecting people in our schools, in our colleges and in our universities, and they need, along with our so-called police services, a complete and utter root and branch clear out. Because we're getting to the stage now where if we don't deal with these people who are deliberately spreading hate and division, deliberately teaching our children that they are second-class citizens, deliberately teaching our kids that their futures are, well, sorry, I say futures, their pasts are something to be ashamed of rather than to be proud of, we have no hope. So if I was Prime Minister, if I was in charge of policy in this country, that is where I would start, in the schools. I'd get rid of all the left-wing teachers. I would reintroduce discipline in the schools. A union flag would be placed in every single classroom, and hymns, assembly, would become standard practice every morning like they used to be since time began in the UK. All that has now disappeared. We need to return to good old-fashioned, good, honest, Christian, basic Christian values that we all grew up in and made this nation the great country that it is, that so many people want to come and live in. We need to return to the ways of old. That's where I'd start. Schools, and obviously I mentioned the police services as well, which need to become police forces again. Police forces where the bad guys are scared of the police, where they fear the law. If I was in charge of this country, let me tell you something now. The Home Secretary and every single Chief Constable in every single area of the United Kingdom knows exactly who the bad guys are. Their names, their addresses, their gang member names, the names of their gangs, what they do, what they get up to, where they get up to. It is all known. It's all in a computer somewhere. Every Chief Constable's accessibility whenever he wants. All he's got to do is type in the info and there it is. Now, whilst I'm not suggesting that we run around nicking people and putting them in prison without the evidence, the proper evidence to do so, that wouldn't be right. What we can do is we can make their goddamn lives difficult. If you know these people are guilty of these crimes, but you just can't prove it, then the time has come to clamp down on these bastards, to start hassling the life out of them and to make their lives hell in every legal way possible. The police services need to be smashing down the doors of these gangs, rooting out the leaders, taking them in for questioning, getting their bank accounts shut down. All the things that the authorities are doing to normal people, normal, everyday, law-abiding citizens. They're doing all this to them. The banks are shutting down bank accounts by their thousands every single day because you don't meet some criteria, or you haven't lived somewhere for long enough, or Experian or some other bloody dodgy company says that your credit rating's not quite up to scratch. They're the people that are being punished right now. Someone's in debt, they get treated worse by the banks than someone that deals in drugs. All this is simply and easily sorted out, and it can be done pretty quickly, but you have to have the will and the leader that's capable and willing to do it. Schools sorted out. Police sorted out. Simple, easy, not as difficult as it sounds. I know there'll be people out there saying, oh yeah, listen to this idiot. He thinks he's got the answers to everything. Well, I tell you something now. If I was the Mayor of London, if you get caught with a knife, 5 years, no parole. If you get caught using a knife, 10 years, minimum, no parole. Even if you pull it out of your pocket and you threaten someone with it, 10 years in jail, minimum. If you get caught stealing a mobile phone, you know how they ride around grabbing them out of hands on their e-bikes, etc. If you get caught doing that, 5 years in prison, minimum. The job is done overnight, the problem is solved, it's finished. You might get one or two numpties that haven't heard about the new law or who just genuinely don't give a shit. But trust me when I tell you, the rest of the little scroats will give it all up. Problem solved. We can make the streets of London, we can make the streets of the UK, we can make the streets of every town and city in this country safe again with the will to do it. Because I tell you now, in the UK, it is risk versus reward. The rewards for nefarious activities, for criminal activities, are huge, and the risks are minimal. We have to reverse that. And it's very easily done. It's very quickly done. You don't need to build any more prisons. In fact, I believe if you get tough on crime, genuinely tough on crime, really tough on crime, the prisons will actually start to empty, not to fill up. That's because people won't want to go there. And I'm not even going to go down the road of grooming gangs, etc., etc. We've done that 100 times. I want to talk today about how we put things right. We put things right by looking at the problem straight in the eye, head on, face on, and fucking dealing with it. The same as we need to deal with illegal migration. I don't buy any of this shit that we can't stop the boats. It is total and utter bullshit. You know it and I know it. I say, fuck the ECHR. Just tell them to go and do one. What are they going to do? What are they going to do to us in the United Kingdom? If we say to the ECHR, stick it where the sun doesn't shine, what are they going to do? What are the French going to do if we suddenly start to refuse to take these boats in the middle of the channel? The answer is, to the boat problem, is you just say one word, it's two letters, N-O, or fuck off. Pick whichever one you want. Either a do, either is applicable. You tell these people when they get on their boats that you are not coming into our country, and even if you do get here, you will get nothing, absolutely nothing, because all of the money that we are now giving to these people, and indeed all of the money that we're sending abroad, millions now apparently, to the Lebanon. Why? What for? Our NHS is on its knees, infested again with pro-Palestinian, anti-British, Jew-hating nutcases that basically want to kill us, and they're the ones that are there to supposedly save our lives. The country is upside fucking down. And this is all a result of years and years and years of liberalism, of wokeism, of wet wipes who hate themselves and they hate everyone else that looks just like them. These people are actually mentally unstable. We must be the only country in the world that literally hates itself. Lenny Henry is now on about paying every black person in the UK reparations from the days of slavery. What the fuck does that have to do with you, me, or our families? My granddad was shot in the First World War, lost his right arm. Am I looking at the Germans for reparations because he lived the rest of his life in relative poverty? No, it's nothing to do with them. That's in the past. How far do you want to go back? Last week, last month, last year, 100 years, 1,000 years? We're all guilty. Every nation in the world, every people in the world, of every race, creed and colour is guilty of something in the past. Nobody has had a perfect history. What's important is how we move forward together. Stop talking about black and white. It doesn't matter. We live together, we get on together, we share the same aims and ambitions. We should be proud, we should be taught that we're all the same, that we all get behind the same flag, that we all have the same beliefs, we all have the same feelings, we all want the same things. We want our kids to be safe, we want to own a home, we want to be able to put food on the table and go down the pub on a Friday night. And it doesn't matter what colour you are. What is this bullshit? Lenny Henry now, a former comedian, always seen as a good guy in the past, now wants money and he wants to separate people. You're black, you deserve money, you're white, you're not getting anything. How the fuck does that work? And if you're a black person watching this video now, if you're a person of colour, whatever the politically correct term is these days, I mean, look, you're black, I'm white, so what, big deal. Why are we talking all of a sudden about goddamn colour? I don't want to talk about this shit. So Lenny Henry, shut your goddamn mouth, you pillock. We're sending millions. You talk about that, but do you talk about the millions we're going to be sending to Palestine, to Gaza, or to the Lebanon? Do you talk about that? No. You know why? Because you, like the rest of them, just hate us. Hatred. It is rife in our country. We've got to get rid of it. And what has brought this hatred on? What has brought it on? Years and years of teachers and governments teaching us to hate ourselves, when we should be teaching everyone how to be proud of themselves, proud of their futures, proud of their children and proud of their country, and stand strong against all the evils in the world like we have always done. We've always been the good guys that stands against evil. Yes, we haven't always got it right. There'll be people from the Middle East maybe watching this saying, yeah, what about Iraq and Afghanistan? I put my hands up. We've not been perfect. But that's not the people of this country. It is the bastard politicians that have done it to them, and they've also done it to us. It's been a double whammy for us. They've sent our boys off to die in goddamn trenches while they haven't got the right fucking equipment, while stitching us up back at home and then sending all the enemy that wanted to kill those boys over to our country to goddamn live amongst us. Can you get your head around any of this shit? Can you get your head around any of it? How do we solve it? And this is where it's going to be pretty unpleasant. There are probably 5 million people in our country right now that need to go. They need to go home. They need to go back where they came from. And frankly, and this is difficult for me to say because I consider myself a humanist. I am a human being. I hate seeing other people upset. I hate people hurt. But if we can prove through the proper evidence that these people, anyone, has been involved in what would be deemed as being anti-British, anti-Christian, anti-Western culture values, quite simply, they don't belong here. They need to go. Gone. For good. Forever. We don't want them. The country does not benefit by them being here. They offer us nothing other than pain, problems and war potentially down the line, because like I said in the video the other day, they're not here to take part, they're here to take over, and that's a fact. It's an uncomfortable truth. And even mainstream politicians, Robert Jenrick, Kemi Badenoch, for example, from the Tories, Suella Braverman's been doing it for a long time, and the list goes on. Even mainstream politicians are now finally finding the balls to talk about it. Enoch Powell spoke about it many, many years ago, and he was right. Whether you like it or not, he was right. And you can deny it all you like. Will you not believe that he was right until that street is running with blood? Will you believe it then? Because that is what I fear. That is where I fear we are going to be heading if this whole situation isn't grabbed by the throat, grabbed by the balls and dealt with. The Lib Dems, the Green Party, who has now become, I don't even know what they've become. The Green Party used to be the party of, they're not going to hurt anyone. You know, they're just the Green Party. They believe in hugging trees and, you know, all the rest of that nonsense, right? But they've now become the Islamic Party of Great Britain. They're being taken over by the Islamists and the hard left. Danger. The Lib Dems. These people are just dangerous because they don't know what they believe. Anybody voting for the Lib Dems these days, just, you may not as well bother voting at all, because you just get 50% of one bad side and 50% of the other bad side. A complete and utter waste of time. The Tories are trying to make a fist of it, and I like Kemi Badenoch. I like Robert Jenrick. But I'm sorry, guys, we don't trust you. You're done. You're toast. You had years to put this shit right and you blew it. Not only did you blow it, you made it fucking worse. How can we ever trust the Tories ever again? Which of course leaves Nigel Farage, Reform and Ben Habib and Advance UK, but we won't go into that today. We're not talking about politics and who to vote for necessarily. We're talking about how we put this shit right. And it's going to be painful. Putting this right is not going to be easy. It's going to take time. There are certain things that we can put right very quickly with the will, with the balls, with the strength and with the belief and with the right people in charge. It's not too late. It can be retrieved. The situation can be retrieved. But we do need, and I've never ever liked using this word, repatriations. We need to be sending people back to the countries where they came from if they don't love the country that they live in. What's the saying? Fit in or fuck off. And I'm afraid that time has come. If you can't fit in, what are you doing here? I now live in Spain, as you well know. I fit in. I adhere to every single one of their laws, their rules, their way of life, their culture. I'm here to respect the people of Spain, to thank the people of Spain, to be forever grateful to them for giving me a home here, for giving me a new life here, for giving me the safety of being here. In some ways, I'm an asylum seeker myself, away from the unpredictability of the UK. If I went home tomorrow, who knows if they're going to arrest me for something they're going to make up or something that I've said that they'll twist. Who knows? It could be me, it could be you, it could be anyone. I go back to the beginning of the video. We just don't know anymore. We don't have a judicial system that any of us can understand. It's gone, it's finished, it's over. It needs rebuilding right from the very first brick. And I've already spoken about respect. We need to learn to respect other people's opinions without the violence, without the hatred. That was never there when I was younger. People used to be on the left, on the right, and yes, there were times when things got a little bit heated between the far left and the genuine far right. That's always been there, but this is now spread nationwide. This is now affecting almost every household in the country. You are either on the left or you are far right. There's nowhere really in the middle, is there? Because the left will accuse anyone that's even towards the centre of politics as being far right. So they've brought that on for themselves, really, haven't they? They've managed to create a far right that doesn't even really exist. But that's how everyone, even the mainstream media, look at the BBC, how they describe us. Look at the BBC, the way they have basically covertly, in my opinion, not so covertly in some at some periods, where they've basically backed Hamas, a proscribed terrorist organisation. The Middle East, the Middle Eastern politics, the problems of the Middle East has come to the UK, and it isn't going away until we get rid of the people that have bought it here and the people with the beliefs that they have. They've got to go. This is Europe, this is the UK, it is not the Middle East, it is not Gaza. You are, as a British citizen, if you are a British citizen, you're entitled to your opinion. But the flying of Palestinian flags should be banned now. I believe it should be banned in the UK now. I am not a free speech absolutist. I actually am not. I very much believe in freedom of speech, big freedom of speech, but freedom of speech comes at a cost. And if you don't believe me, go and have a look at some of the war cemeteries, because that's the price that our boys paid for free speech back then. So for me, free speech has its limits. And when it becomes illegal, when it becomes totally and utterly immoral, when it becomes hugely offensive to the vast majority of society, that is my limit. Let them march, but ban those bloody flags. Ban the flags, ban the silly tea towels round the faces with the glasses, ban the face coverings, ban the burqa, ban halal meat. Let's get rid of this Middle Eastern shit out of our country. We don't want it, we don't need it, and it brings us absolutely nothing. And that is not me being racist. I am not talking about a race, I am talking about a culture. And the culture that I'm saying that we need to expel from our country is practiced and carried out by people of all different races. This has nothing to do with race. Nothing whatsoever. It is all about the destruction of our culture with those trying to replace it with their own. It has to stop. They are trying to win. They are trying to take us over. They are acting as bolder than they've ever been acting in the past. And the reason that they're acting this way is because the law allows them to, whilst coming down hard on people waving the flag of the actual country they live in. It's any wonder that the nation feels ready to explode. Now, in the past, I have always tried to offer my audience a balanced view as a caring, loving father, grandfather, human being who loves all children of all races, creeds, colours, religions and backgrounds. I just want peace in the UK. I just want everyone that lives in it to be happy, to be harmonious, to be able to get on together and all the good things in life. That is all I want. And I honestly don't care what religion you follow, what background you come from, what you believe in. I don't honestly mind. That's what you believe in is not my business. The only thing that we should all have in common is a willingness to remain respectful and peaceful and within the law. Those are the things that we must all be able to agree to do. That we must all agree on those things. Otherwise, we're lost. And the country, unfortunately, now has a lot of people in it that not only doesn't want to agree with any of those 3 or 4 things, in fact, they want to go against them and they want to change them. And those people are a danger. And until the law recognises that, until the government recognises that, until the politicians find the balls to admit where the problem lies and what the problem is, it ain't going to get any better. We can change it through the ballot box. And I believe that at the next general election it will be changed at the ballot box. But when it's changed, will the people in power find the courage to do what's required? If they don't find that courage, then the UK is lost forever. That is why it's up to us, the population, the people that really hold the power. We're the ones with the votes. We hold the power. And it's up to us. It's up to us to make sure that we put our cross in the right box at the next general election and make sure that we return MPs, not necessarily the party, but we return the right people who are standing in different regions, in different constituencies. We need to make sure that we elect the right individual with the right beliefs, with the right morals and the courage and conviction of those beliefs to implement what needs to happen in the United Kingdom for our children to be able to recognise the bloody country that we grew up in. Now, sorry, I've been rambling on here and I'm not actually sure that I've answered all, I'm not even sure that I've said what I was going to do. I was going to try and talk to you about ways that we get out of this. I guess we kind of have, but I could sit here and speak for a day and a night about it. I mean, every single area of our society needs ripping apart and building from the very base up again. But that will only happen. That will only happen if the British people find the courage, find the will, find the motivation to get out, campaign, peacefully demonstrate wherever possible, stand up to society and the authorities that put their jackboot down on their heads. So I'll give you one example. Nando's, one of my favourite little restaurants when I'm back at home. Nando's, halal meat. Some of their restaurants are halal meat, some aren't. Why are we eating in Nando's restaurants that insist on serving halal food without even telling us or without asking? Why are we allowing our schools to feed our children meat from animals who's been slit? Why are we allowing that? Why are you as parents not at the school saying, are our children being fed this shit? We don't want them eating this food. We're Christians, this is a Christian country. What are you doing serving up food from the Middle East? If you want to eat halal food, if you want to go for a curry or a kebab, and I love a curry, then that's our choice to go and eat halal food, but it shouldn't be forced upon us. Where is the nation on this subject? Where are the parents? Oh, I can't be bothered, I'm busy, I'm too busy at work, I've got other things to worry about. Really? When you're next going to your supermarket, are you buying halal food? And if you are, is it correctly marked? Refuse to buy it. Tell the supermarket that you won't be shopping there anymore all the time they're selling halal meat. The Jewish community, if they want their kosher food, they go to specialist kosher butchers. When you go in Tesco's or Waitrose, you're not buying kosher meat or kosher food. You know why? Because it's not forced upon us. Halal meat is forced upon us, and you have to wonder why it's being forced upon us. We know it's a takeover, it's a slow burn, and only the British people can stop it. The question is, have they got the will and have they got the courage? And that, my friends, I haven't got the answer to.